Tomorrow is Father's Day. And this is something my father used to do all the time. Just clean out the garbage cans. Clean out the garbage cans, because if you don't, everything crawls in that thing and you get wasps and you got everything. So I want to talk about my dad on this Father's Day, because my father actually kept me from going down the wrong path. And what do I mean? Well, I had fallen into kind of a pattern where I had a really cool friend, and I kind of wanted to hang around him. So I did things that he wanted me to do, like I started shoplifting. And I was only 15, and I was shoplifting little things in hobby shops and everything, because I used to build airplanes, and he did too, these remote control planes and all. But it got bigger and bigger, and I'd be going to a department store and doing this stuff, and it was exhilarating for a kid, and you're getting away with this, right? So I kept doing that, and we used to ride our bikes around on weekends and stuff. And one day, I wasn't with him. He crashed his bike and really wrecked it up. The forks got bent, the wheel got bent, handlebars, all this stuff. And he went over this like Volkswagen Beetle. And I didn't have anybody to ride with. And I just got my new bike, like 2.5 months was Christmas before that. It was a beautiful red bike with chrome and everything. And I wanted to ride around on it, right? But now I had nobody to ride with. So he has this brilliant idea. He goes, Frank, you know what we need to do? We need to steal a bike for me. And I said, you can't steal a bike. Your father will see that it's not your bike. He says, no, here's how we do it. What we do is, we find a bike that has the right size wheel, and we find a bike that has the right size forks and pedals and everything that will fit. Most bikes back then would all fit. So I said, okay, where are we going to find the bike? Well, we were sophomores at Northeast High School in St. Pete, Florida. And we got there early one morning, and we cased out the place, and there's all these bikes in one area, and he's looking at them going, this one, that one. And I snuck out a pair of my father's bolt cutters. He had these giant bolt cutters. My dad had every tool imaginable. And that morning when I was being driven to school by my neighbor and my sister, they were seniors. My sister asked, why are you bringing that? I said, well, it's shop class. And I was a terrible liar, still am. And so she says, yeah, right. And she heard all about my friend's problem with the bike and everything, and because I had bitched and moaned about it. And so I bring these there. We meet up at this area where all the bikes are. Now I'm doing this for my friend because I want him to be able to ride around on the weekends. And we cut a chain off a cable. And we start taking that bike across the parking lot, and had these wing nuts, and the wing nuts fell off, and the tire just starts rolling. We're like the Keystone Cops. We just dumped it and ran. So we regrouped. And I thought it was over, but he was adamant. He wanted that bike fixed. So in the hallways, the covered hallways in Florida, they have poles every like 20, 30 feet, and people would chain their bikes near the last class that they would have that day. And there was this one bike, this older bike called the Columbia. I think it was called the Columbia. I remember that long ago. And he goes, that's the perfect bike. So we cut the chain. We get it home, and out front of my house is this giant field, and there's wooded areas, and there's a dirt road that goes down to it. His house was much more in the area where main roads were and everything, so we took it to my house. And we stripped that thing. We stripped every nut and bolt off of it, and we got down to the nitty-gritty, which is a wheel, and the forks, and the grips, and the pedal, and all this, everything that was damaged. And we didn't care where the parts went. And you got to remember, this is in the woods, where even in the daytime, it's kind of dark, so everything went everywhere. So at the end of it, he walks home. And for him to walk home, it's about a mile. He has to go back and go there, and he's taking this wheel with him and every other part. And me, I just have to walk down a dirt road, and there's my house. So I go in, and I'm washing my hands. My mom goes, well, you're kind of late getting home. And I says, well, we had stuff to do. And she goes, 2 kids at my school at Dixie Hollins or Northeast got caught stealing a bike. And I said, well, that's terrible, Mom. Really? Yeah. And then she said, I know you stole the bike. And I turn around and I look at her, and how the hell would she know this? My sister. Because I brought that damn bolt cutter 2 days in a row. And that probably was just too much. And my sister was smart, and she put 2 and 2 together. And I looked at my mom. I could have denied it, and I didn't. You know what I said? I said, don't tell Dad. Don't tell Dad. That was all we worried about back then when we were little boys. We don't want our fathers to find out. My dad was in the military, and he was a good guy, and he would not tolerate that. So she says to me, she goes, okay, you go there now and you get those parts. And I said, Mom, we took this thing apart in the woods. We can't find those parts. She goes, I don't care. You don't want me to tell your dad? You don't want him to find about it? You go down there. So I take the wheelbarrow and I go down alone and I go through and I'm trying to find everything. It's getting dark. Remember, this is like February, late February. So it gets dark really quick. And I'm trying to find anything. I found the frame, of course, and I found the back tire because it was still attached in the seat. But all these little parts, I'm trying to find. And we even cut the cable to get the hand grips off. We didn't even try to undo them. We cut them. And I'm taking all these parts home, and I'm going to show my mom, we can't put this together. Don't tell Dad. Well, here comes a car with headlights, and I can't see who it is. And it slows down, and it's my dad. And the look he gave me was, you, buddy, are dead. And I go, God, Mom told Dad. Because you probably got worried about me because it was starting to get dark, right? That's why he went out. So I come home with this wheelbarrow full of parts. And my dad, this is what my dad does. This is what all dads do probably, and that is, he paced like this, right in front of me. I mean, he was in the military. He was a senior master sergeant in the military. I cannot believe my son is a thief. You disappoint me. Why would you do this? And then I told him the story. Why? Because I had this brand new bike, right? I didn't need a bike. I did it for my friend. And he knew who that guy was. And he knew he was not good news, right? So he says to me, okay, you're going to put this bike back together. He called the other kid's dad, and the other kid's dad didn't want it being done at his house. And my dad even called him an a-hole on the phone because he was an a-hole. That's why this kid was the way he was. So he says, okay, you're going to rebuild this bike. And I go, Dad, I don't have enough parts. And I'm not even telling him that he's still got the tire and he's got all these parts. I'm just saying they were lost in the woods. I don't know why I'm covering for this kid even now. And he goes, you're going to rebuild this bike. And I said, there's not enough parts. He goes, oh, not enough parts? Here's what's going to happen. Every part you can't find, you're going to take it off your new bike. And I'm going, no, that's my bike. He says, you're going to take every part off there. And I spent till probably midnight that night putting new hand grips on this guy's thing, putting forked in, putting everything. And I worked till 1 o'clock in the morning easily. And this bike now had all my freaking parts on it. And my bike was unrideable. There's nothing you can do with that. So my dad said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you to the school at 6 a.m. and you're going to go out there and you're going to put it exactly where you stole it. And you're going to put the cable that you cut around it so nobody else knows the cable is cut because we don't want them to steal the bike. Sure enough, takes me down there. I put it around the pole. I do it. And I'm looking back at it thinking of my bike. And I got out of art class that day and I'm walking down there and it's gone. And I never saw it again. So I think the kid parked it in a different place, right? But to this day, I have been wondering, what was that kid thinking? When the day before, less than 14 hours before, he comes there and he finds out. He sees his old bike and all new parts are on it. I mean, it must have like, what the hell? So he rides it home, right? And I bet you he went to his dad. He went to his dad and he said, Dad, I got my bike back. And the dad goes, oh yeah, that's cool. Where'd you find it? And he goes, you need to come outside. So he comes outside and the father was probably like, what the? And the kid says, you know what the kid says? I would say this, 15 years old. Dad, it was a miracle. Something took my bike, my old bike, and put all new parts on it. And then what is the dad going to say? How would you figure this out? Because my father even made me put both pedals on. He goes, oh, no, you're not going to put one on. Make a match. Make the hand grips match. So all the stuff was new, and it was chrome, and it was beautiful, and on this ugly bike, right? I'll never forget that. I was never upset with my dad. I was embarrassed that I did this. And the worst part was that kid comes to my window, because I'm grounded 2 weeks in jail, bangs on my window. I roll down the window and I said, "What?" And he says, "You okay?" And I says, "What happened to you?" And he goes, "I'm not punished. I'm going to Sunshine Raceway. We're going to watch drag races." And I learned right then and there, you think you're in the crowd. You think that you're part of these people that go down that path. They don't care about you. You think maybe if you do something that looks cool to them, then you'll be in the fold. No, I wasn't in the fold. They had no jail time at all. I'm the one that suffered. I didn't have a bike for 6 months. And I think on my birthday and all, they gave me some parts, and my dad just fed that out little by little. All right, now you got this, and now you got a wheel, now you got this. And that's got to be one of the coolest things my father ever did to me, for me. And I look back at it and I can never forget it, because I'm still wanting to know what that kid thought. Did it change his life? Did he say there was magic? Did he have a whole different life because he'd see my bike was stolen and then all new parts were on it the next morning? Something like that happens to you and it changes your whole outlook on reality, on what the world is. And it could have changed it for a positive. What if he's a CEO of a big company? You know, who knows? Or maybe he got into crime himself. I don't know, but all I know is I've always wanted to know what that kid thought that day. Anyway, I wanted to talk about that and say Happy Father's Day to my dad. And I hope all of you have a great Father's Day with your father. Appreciate them while they're alive.